Hey everyone, thanks for dropping in. This is Steve with SBL Games. Today we're going to go ahead and do a Joy-Con rail replacement. Got the replacement right here. It's going to be on, hold on. So when you're looking at it, it's the left side, and when you're working on it, it's the right side. But anyhow, moving forward. So we got our part, got our unit. The tools we need are going to be a tri-wing screwdriver and a precision Phillips head. Now, this one happens to have the kickstand missing. Happens a lot. People break it off or it comes off. Sometimes you could pop it back in, but after a while it just won't go on and you'll have to replace that. But anyhow, there is a screw under there that I missed, so I'm going to go ahead and grab that real quick. So there is that one under there. It's like a flat, kind of a flat, small Phillips head. There are tri-wing screws in these 4 points, so you will want to get those. Then on the sides here, you see how there's 5 points? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just take out the middle ones on both sides. That's going to be the same precision Phillips that you'll use. I'm sure you could tell I've went ahead and already removed it on both sides, as well as the other screws I've mentioned. I happen to miss this one, but anyhow, yeah, you get those 2 screws on the side, this one under the kickstand, these 2 right here by the charge port, this one up here by the ventilation area, and those tri-wings. So anyhow, we get all those out. This whole back piece will pull right out. Make sure there's no games in there and no memory cards in the slot. So yeah, that's that there. There's usually dust buildup in there, depending on how good it's taken care of, but there's usually at least some. So when I'm in there, I like to dust it out and get it cleaned up. Alright, so go ahead and set that to the side. And then now we see the memory card slot. We're going to need to remove that. There's a precision Phillips head required. And then gently, I like to kind of pull that way. So like this, because it's connected right to the main board. Don't want to do any damage. Want to be very careful with that. Alright, now there is a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you include that screw I just took out, there's 7. But we already got that one out, so there's 6 more screws we got to get. So go ahead and get those. And before doing any work, you always want to make sure that the unit is powered all the way off. Alright, so we're just about done with those. And then this whole metal plate, this ground plate, will just come right up and off. Of course, putting up a fight. And there we go. Now, you will need to clean off this old compound from here and here, since we broke that seal. Alright. So we gotta make sure to, I always like to just clean the shield now, so I'm just gonna go ahead and clean the shield now. I will get to the stuff on the unit momentarily here. And I'm gonna pause it so I don't bore you guys. Yeah, I'm actually gonna pause real quick. I'll be right back. Alright, and we are back. I decided if we are going to do a tutorial, we might as well include everything. So I unplugged the battery. And of course, before we do any work, we made sure we turn it all the way off. I'm going to actually take out these 3 screws holding this heatsink in, and we're going to clean this all up. I'm going to omit the cleaning part because I feel that's kind of boring. I don't think you guys want to watch me clean stuff. But then when we come back, we are going to do the actual repair. I'm going to show you a cool little hack I've learned over time. And then if you are concerned about keeping these all perfect, just kiss them with a little bit of heat, nothing extreme, and they'll come up all nice and pretty. Oh, it looks like that one stayed together good. And that one stayed together, but almost tore off a little piece. Alright, so like I said, I don't think you guys want to see me clean, so I'll be back. Alright, so voila, this is all cleaned up. This is all cleaned up, both sides of it. Doesn't have to be picture perfect, but the cleaner the better. Yeah, so that's all ready. And you could just view it as while you're in there. One of the things you could do is do that. It's all really up to you. Everybody's a little different. Okay, so a little hack that I'm going to show you all is we know this is the rail that we're going to remove. So we are going to need to remove these screws, obviously. And then we will pull this. Well, we'll first need to disconnect the ribbon cable, and then we're going to pull this whole thing out without having to disassemble this entire unit. Because normally, a lot of people, they'll actually remove the entire main board and stuff to get to this piece, and I just don't see the need of doing that. So we're going to not do that. Alright, so I've got 3 of the 5 removed. There we go. And here comes 5 of 5. Alright, perfect. So, this part's very important. You have to be really careful with this. This ribbon cable is very delicate, and then also don't let this fall. That's why I'm holding pressure on it. This clip is delicate. Now, if I was to break it off, I could actually remove and replace it. It's not too big of an issue. But I like to take my fingernail and very carefully pop up. And then I also take, well, it's not advised to use metal tools, especially if you're a beginner. So if you have anything like a safe pry tool or something with like a pointed tip on it, you just got to kind of pull right on these little ears here. There's one on each side. Just again, be very careful not to scratch that board. Alright, so we got that up and on, or up and out, I should say. And then this is already disconnected. If you remember, we just disconnected it. So we're going to go ahead and just gently pull. Oh, that's right, there's some tape in there. Huh? There we go. So just gently pull that out. There's some tape holding it in place. If you want to remove and reuse that, that is advised to do. That's what I'm going to do. It's not even really tape. It's just like a heat protector. Alright, so let's go ahead and transfer that over to this one. And then we can move forward. Alright, so went ahead and got that transferred over. Go ahead and spin this around. We are going to want to put this in first. I like to slightly bend this cable. Don't be rough with it. Just a slight bend will do. You don't need to put a crease in it or nothing crazy. And then rather than taking the whole thing apart just to get to it, you could actually slide this under here, like so. And then this piece we're going to secure momentarily. There we go. Alright, so we need to get those screws. We're gonna bolt that down so it doesn't flip-flop everywhere. Sorry for the weeble wobbles, guys. We are going to be moving the camera soon. Still trying to figure out a way to use it. Someone lost the software for it, unfortunately. Leave this middle one blank, because if you remember, that's the one of the ones we're going to be putting in last after we put the faceplate back on. Alright, so we got these two on this side, left the middle one empty, and then these two on this side are back in place. We got the cable in place. We're going to need to go ahead and get it connected. Then we could go ahead and get the thermal compound replaced and the heat sink put back on, and then we could reassemble. We're done. So, all right, where were we? Okay, so with connecting this, I went ahead and left it, sorry about that. I went ahead and left it like unhinged, or whatever you want to call it, unclipped. It's not advised to use a metal tool. You just want to get that plugged back in. There are small kind of ears on the side if you could use them. They're really delicate, so be careful. Me personally, I like to use the edge right here without biting into it. If you bite into that cable, you could ruin it, and then you'll have to replace it all over again. Anyhow, once that cable is good and in there, and something you could more safely do, just use your fingernail. Very carefully use your fingernail. So just go like this. And if you happen to slip up, it's just hopefully going to only bump that clasp closed. But it's all about patience and safety. Just want to take your time with stuff, don't rush. And remember that if you are following this, it's a risk you're taking of your own. I'm just showing you what is required, kind of how I do stuff. It can be used as a tutorial, but I'm not responsible if you guys break something, because there is a bit of skill required. There's some patience and stuff, but it's very easy overall to break stuff on something this small. Anyhow, so we got that all plugged back in. We got the rail, all but the one screw done. So we just pretty much need to put some fresh compound. Today we're going to go with MX2. I usually use MX5 in these switches since they're smaller. It's a little more of a thickness to it. But I'll go ahead and put that across there. Boom. Maybe a little too much. It's okay. It's not going to hurt nothing. As I know someone out there is going to go, oh, that's way too much. Alright. There we go. Alright, now we could go ahead and bolt this down. It's going to feel a little funky while you're bolting it in because it has the fresh compound in there. And we're pretty much squeezing it into place. Or I should say it can feel weird. There we go. And you see how the excess just squeezes out the sides. And then if you remember when we took it apart, it had enough to connect to this heat shield here. Remember, we had to clean that up. So I use a little extra just to make sure to get a nice strong bond. I'm very sure it's probably a little overkill, being that the switch doesn't really produce too much heat. It doesn't get too crazy. Depending on which games you play, it may get a little loud. You could usually hear the fan get kind of loud, kind of thing. But I'd rather be safe than sorry overall. So let's go ahead and give these people compound there. I'm gonna, like I said, I like to put a little extra. Boom. There we go. All right, so the compound's good. So now we could actually just kind of examine. That looks good and solid. If you would like, the smartest thing to do would be to actually test it. So I'm gonna actually go ahead and do that. So the problem with the rail that was on there is it would go on and it would work. It would sync and all that, but it would just slide right off. So, all right, now it locks into place. You have to press the button. So cool, that's done. Tested good before we bolt it up. Save ourselves any headaches there. So now that we know everything's good, we got the fresh compound on. We got everything ready to go. So let's go ahead and plug the battery in. Now we're going to take that heat shield. We're going to go ahead and put that back on. There it is. Okay. And then now we could put the silver screws back into place. I always like to start with the one in the center, kind of tack it, the whole shield itself into place. And then I just kind of work around. You could start in the corner and go around that way. Doesn't really matter after that. It just seems to be, to me, that tacking that center one down first seems to really solidify things. And I'm guessing it's because it has this compound there that, you know, get that nice fresh seal created. All right. And then if you remember, we had this. There's a little secret. If you peel this off, what you could actually do is you could plug it in. Oh, that worked out beautiful. And now we know it's plugged in because I literally felt it and seen it and everything. And now that we know it's plugged in, because this is otherwise tricky, you could have to open your switch a bunch of times. Come on, man. Think that you broke it kind of thing. Start freaking out. All right, so now that that's in place, go ahead and tack that down. And then there's one more silver screw by the game card slot. And then the very last screw is going to be in the opposite corner. Alrighty. So now that those 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws are back into place, we could take our back plate, go ahead and pop that in, and then we'll need to put the rest of the screws back into place. Usually best to start with the back ones, which would be the 4 corners, which are the tri-wing. So that's what we're going to actually go ahead and do. Now the thing is with these, you want to be extremely careful not to strip them when removing or reinstalling. A lot of people strip them. It's very easy to strip these tri-wing. You have to have a good enough tri-wing tool, and then that patience comes into play. And if you feel it slipping or stripping, then stop right away, because it's not good to keep going. I've had a lot of units come in, and I don't understand why after like the first or second screw getting all boogered up and stripped out, people don't stop. So especially if this isn't something that you're experienced in, you shouldn't really be doing it to begin with, because you're running a huge risk in itself. But if you do decide to take that risk, you know, just got to be very careful and sometimes know when to pump the brakes and call in a professional. You know, save your device from getting either damaged beyond repair, or to where it's so expensive, or to where it's so expensive to repair it's not worth fixing, kind of thing. It's not the situation we want to end up in. Alright, so we got those 4 tri-wings into place. So we could go ahead and put our tri-wing driver away. We will no longer need it. Then we could go ahead and put this flat Phillips head in. Then the center screws. Alright, and then on the top there's one screw right here. So go ahead and get that. And then on the bottom near the charge port, there's 2 more. Boom, boom. So we want to get this. And then we are done. Alright, so that's pretty much about it. Just 2 screws right there and we're done. But be sure to like, subscribe, comment. The Patreon is still in the works. I am still working on memory things. I've fixed the memory thing for the recordings on the phone, but that only gets us so far. So I can't wait till we get the camera in use and I don't have to use my phone. Anyhow, thanks again for dropping in. Steve at SBL Games signing out.